let's talk about, you mentioned USAID. For me, one of the things I didn't like about the whole conversation with USAID was it seemed as if lots of Nigerians were taking away the agency of our leaders when it came to USAID. Some Nigerians are making this argument that because of USAID, Nigeria is where it is today. And for me, I feel like our leaders also have responsibility and agency when it comes to where Nigeria is today. Regardless of whatever USAID is or didn't do, I do agree. You can't not see the facts and be like, USAID did not do lots of bad things. Of course, they did lots of wrongs in Nigeria and Africa. But the point still remains that our leaders still have agency. They could have built the roads. They could have built the hospital. They could have done all these things that they should have done. But I think many Nigerians fell into this trap of America, USAID is the root of all evil. Once you take it away, everything gets solved. And I don't think that's the right answer.
Also, what I noticed when the argument was happening is that it was a defining moment for African Trumpists. They say, yes, we don't need aid, and all that. And I agree, we don't need aid. And the way Africans are treated is because of the kind of leaders Africans have tolerated. Because anybody who understands resources very well, you know that people who are giving you aid are taking, before they give you $100 million, they've taken $50 to $100 billion of your resources.
Nothing is free.
That is why the multinationals are doing better than the countries they are operating from on the continent of Africa, whether they are digging gold, oil, bauxite, or they are digging bitumen or diamonds. It is what Africans must realize. And I agree with you. I'm not even as mild as you. African leaders have been useless. That is why all these organizations that are bringing aid come to you, and it depends on who is there. Some of the agenda of these organizations are very direct. Some of them hate the fact that Africa is going to be very populated, and out of this huge population might come some genie out of the bottle, and they want to stop it. They don't hide it. So the people that came to carry you away as slaves don't love you. And their children who are still excusing slavery don't love you either. But what is missing in that conversation is excitement, in which it was almost sounding like messianic, like, oh my God, Trump came to help Africa. See, he has frozen USAID. We love you. We love Elon Musk, not knowing that Elon Musk didn't like South African blacks. He wanted to use whatever he can to punish them. And it didn't take long before they started taking on South Africans. But the question you should ask yourself is that, so you hate USAID, which makes sense because of the bad they have done. But you also love people who feels that children in Gaza should be wiped out. With the amount of money that goes to the state of Israel to do harm to Palestinians is nothing compared to what Africa is getting from USAID. So why is there no outrage that we're sending bombs to kill innocent Palestinians, but you're happy that USAID is taking money, which is fine. If Africa were to get it wrong, you should be sending money to some of them. Venezuela, which you mentioned earlier, when I was the time I was in New York when Chavez was in power.
Hugo Chavez, yeah.
He used to send heating oil to a part of New York known as the Bronx.
Wow.
Yes, because they were doing so well. And America didn't like that. They went after him. To today, they can't explain why the guy had cancer. Which you can say is conspiracy theory. But countries like that are doing well, they never liked them. They didn't like Brazil. They created an uprising in Brazil through the guy who lost election to Lula. Bolsonaro, what is it? Bolsonaro.
Jair Bolsonaro. Yeah.
Bolsonaro. So when you have all these things, you understand the world order. But the world order cannot be devoid of reason. It should not be devoid of critical thinking.
Yeah.
That don't, because somebody sell a narrative to you, lose your sense to think that the reason they don't want to fund through USAID is because they love you. No, it is not. It is because they need to sell a narrative out there that is a trap. And the way Nigerians took it, especially the people who were making the argument, then became very political. I think at that time it was, yes, USAID made Jonathan lose the election. So
Yeah, that was one of the.
let's go after everybody
Yeah, that was
whose
one of.
name has ever appeared on USAID.
I was so disappointed.
No, I wasn't disappointed
Yeah.
because it is part of the kind of political conversation we've been having of how people were mutating over time in terms of Nigerian politics. Because they couldn't hide it. Eventually it came out. But ask yourself, why did the USAID story die down? Why suddenly are we not talking about it anymore? Who finally found out the holy grail that USAID wasn't? The issue was not USAID, but it was local politics being interwoven with the blackmail of, I think some people wanted to bring Jonathan back. And they felt like, let's use this. And then they came up with this USAID narrative that completely left out the world order as it is evolving now, driven by the USA new administration.
Yeah.